Hello, guys. Welcome back to the episode number 2 of Business Class 101 podcast, hosted by the Finance and Leadership Cell, Department of Professional Studies, Christ University, Yashwantpur campus, where we explore all the facets of business, finance, and a lot more. So, join with me in welcoming our guest for today's episode, Mr. Kishlay Verma. He's the co founder and CTO of Shopper. So, what are we going to actually explore in today's episode? We are going to explore everything from startup realities, unfiltered entrepreneurship, tech and leadership beyond books. So, it's very important for me to introduce the guest before we start the discussions. So, Mr. Kishlay Verma has over 15 years of experience in building and scaling large scale technical architectures. He is currently the co founder and CTO of Shopper. As well, he has previously worked in Uber as a senior software engineer. He has worked in Cult, he has worked in Myntra, and at the prestigious D-Shaw Group. He has a wealth of experience and technical acumen in complemented by a strong track record of using engineering to drive real-world business impact. Kishlay sir, it's just an honor to have you on our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So I will brief you about what I'm going to discuss in today's episode so that our audience will be aware of it. So first of all, we're going to introduce what is Shopper. We want to know all about Shopper. We want to know your transition journey. As I said, you worked in D-Shaw and to start up from the scratch, working in a startup. Then we are going to do brutal truths about the startup life, the invisible lessons that you learned during your experience building a startup. Then we are going to have a small surprise that we are going to have the first time in our podcast, and then with the closing remarks. So if that is good, we are all good to start.
All right.
So
The surprise sounds ominous, but we'll see. Let's see.
So coming to the first segment, all about Shopper. We have heard about Ola, Uber, Rapido. Can you briefly explain me what Shopper is and what gap is it filling in the market?
Okay. So Chauffeur is an all-electric premium taxi company. That's fundamentally what we are. So let's break that down. All-electric, we use only electric cars in our fleet. There are various reasons behind it, but fundamentally it allows us to build a sustainable business, right? That's really the core of this. Premium, so like you said, you have heard of Ola, Uber, and there's a bunch of other players as well, lesser known, right? What we found that didn't exist, or at least wasn't very accessible, was a service where value conscious people who are willing to pay a little bit extra to get high quality service, something like that didn't quite exist in the market, at least not very easily. So we decided to focus on the premium segment of rides. So we are not everything for everyone, right? If you want the cheapest ride, we are not your service, right? To this day, we are over 2.5 years into our journey. We still don't have a construct for coupons and stuff like that, right? So we are a service that maintains a very high degree of experience, of customer experience. That is what we strive for.
So as you mentioned, you don't want to be everything for everyone. There's a famous saying, if you are everything for everyone, you'll be nobody for anyone. So
That's true.
that's true, exactly, right? You guys are very specific with your niche market. Let's talk about facts and figures. Can you just explain me what's the market size specifically? Because you exist in Bangalore, and I think recently you guys came in Delhi, I think. Okay, so can you give me a number as to the Bangalore market in terms of cab services?
Okay. So the number keeps changing. Obviously, pre-COVID was a very different number. Post-COVID is a very different number, right? The Bangalore airport market alone, right, is hundreds of crores, right? Each day, back of the envelope calculation says anywhere in the region of 25,000 cars go to the airport and come back from the airport, where at least one side of the trip is the airport, right? We haven't done this again since the second terminal in Bangalore opened, but it has easily grown 30 to 40% because the new terminal has opened, air traffic has increased and so on. Delhi, on the other hand, is 3 times the size of Bangalore. I'm just talking airport traffic. I'm not even talking city rides and outstation and so on and so forth, right? So Delhi is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, mobility markets in the country. So that's what we are trying to look at, right? We are saying that these are huge markets, right? And we believe that there is a gap where people are not able to get good experiences. And that is what we're trying to cater to. That's really our goal.
Actually, because sustainability is a big thing these days that is going up, and all the businesses try to align their business models and the operations in accordance with sustainability. Coming to the next question, how does Chauffeur balance being eco-friendly and also maintaining affordability and quality for customers?
So these two are not quite related, I would say, right? We are not running an ICE company, right? We don't run petrol and diesel cars. So while people keep debating that, oh no, making an EVs is as, environmentally harmful as running a petrol car and all of that. By and large, we fall in the line of people who believe that, India's air quality in all the major cities, Delhi, no,
Yeah.
not being an exception, Bangalore even not being an
Sure.
exception, despite मौसम तो अच्छा है, all that. But so it's not really a balance. Like we believe that EV technology works for us from a financial operational standpoint. It also helps the environment, but that's a very different dimension. So we don't really have to balance it. We leverage one to power the other, right? It's EV technology is eco-sustainable, but it is not just eco-friendly, right? It also, like, you sit in an electric car, it's far more quieter, right? So let's assume for 2 minutes that making an EV was not as eco-friendly as we all believe it. Let's hypothetically say that. Even then, what is a better customer experience? The better customer experience is delivered by the electric car. So, one powers the other. It's not a trade-off.
So when I was researching about Chauffeur, one thing that caught my mind was crowdfunding, where your users can fund your company. This is something I've heard for the first time. So can you just elaborate to our audience what is it, how does it work, and how can you even compete with like competitors like Ola, Uber, who have got so strong financial background?
Sure. So it's not that you can do it at any point of time. There was this one time that we did this activity.
Okay.
It was not crowd funded in the stricted sense.
Okay.
It was limited to our guests.
Okay.
Right. We, me and Vikas, neither of us come from a fleet background.
True.
Right.
He's a CFA.
He's a through and through
guy.
finance person.
Yes.
I am a through and through engineer.
Yes.
So building a fleet company, mobility company was a new experience for both of us. And I think I can say that we made plenty of mistakes in the beginning. But, our guests, we don't say customers, we say guests.
Yeah.
So our guests were kind enough to, cheer us on despite those mistakes. Like people, their rides didn't reach on time, their rides didn't reach at all in the early days and all of that. So, but people still said, okay, you know what, you guys are a small company, you are figuring it out, go for it, I'll book again. Never mind, I'll book again. People did this with us. And, we believed that these are the people who backed us with their money, with their confidence in our early days. If at all this bet plays out and, it becomes a financially rewarding venture, these are the people who we should take along with us. So we reached out to these people. There's a very particular kind of legal structure and, rules and stuff that you have to follow to kind of make this work in India specifically. We followed all of that, which is why we couldn't put a post on LinkedIn, we are trying to raise money. Right? You cannot make a public offering. It has to be a private offering. So it has to be done in a very, very particular way, which is what we did. Reached out to a bunch of our guests who said they would be interested, and eventually kind of ended up structuring a $1.1 million round powered by about 115 of our guests. Right?
So coming to the next question, we have seen the cab companies entering into the EV space. We saw recently a company which was EV based collapsed due to the irregularities that they had. So don't you think companies Ola or Uber, after a point of time, they get into the premium segment, start a new segment of the premium cabs?
This is the question that VCs have been asking us from day
Yeah.
one. Like, why can't Uber do it?
Yeah.
Like, have you seen Uber do it?
Not
It's
really.
been 2.5 years
I think
now.
recently they have this intercity thing.
It's 2.5 years now
Yes.
of Chauffeur alone.
Yes.
Never mind the other company. Those were 5 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Have you seen them do this?
Not really.
No.
No.
So, and there is a reason for that. The reason is that their business model, and eventually everything boils down to the business model, right? Like, you can keep propping yourself with VC funding or whatever funding, but eventually your business needs to make sense. And the way their business is organized does not allow them the fine-grained control that is needed to provide that experience. It is not about EVs. Anybody can buy EVs. You're absolutely right. Right? Uber Green has a pretty large fleet, and Everest is doing entirely all of that for them. It is not about EVs. People don't by and large. I mean, some people do for environmental friendly reasons, but people don't choose chauffeur because it's an electric car. People choose chauffeur because of the experience that we deliver. The driver will be polite, the car will reach on time, it will be clean, it will be an EV, so that will be a nice experience all by itself. If you get in trouble, our customer support will reach out to you, or you can talk to a person and not be stuck in a circular chatbot loop, right? That's what people come to us for. So can theoretically Uber, Ola, whoever it is, can they do that? Sure. Will they? I really doubt it.
True.
Because their business isn't built like that.
Exactly. So we have covered everything about software. Now coming to your transition journey. You had a solid career at big companies, D-Shaw, Myntra. What was the biggest mindset change when you left that comfort zone and starting something like software?
I think the biggest mindset change is in terms of ownership, right? You are there to do a certain thing, and it has to be done at all times, at all costs, right? You cannot say, okay, I decided I will do this, but okay, this quarter this will not happen, it will get delayed. There are some existential questions and some non-existential questions, but as a founder, you have to keep all of them in mind, essentially. And that is the big change in agency and the big change in responsibility that you have as a founder, that you have to do it. You have to make some decisions. You have to influence how your company is, growing, not growing, whatever it is. But also that you can, just realizing this, that you can do it. Like I'm the CTO of this company, but if I see something going wrong in, I don't know, customer support, let's say, I can go there and I can tell those people, my team, this is how you need to fix this.
You mean you have flexibility?
I have the flexibility and I have the responsibility.
True.
Right. So it's both things is the same thing. It's just a question of how you say it. I'm empowered to do anything I want.
Exactly.
And then you can say I'm required to do anything that is needed to be done. So it's both part of the same story, essentially.
Did you ever have second thoughts, coming from a comfort job and starting the whole hustle word these days? Did you ever have second thought, and how did you overcome it?
Hey, look, these days, if you're working in a startup, you're always hustling.
True.
Right. I mean, wherever I've worked, there have been mostly well-funded startups, but the hustle was no less real in all those places. So the hustle, it's fine. It is what it is. Like, it doesn't really change that much. But second thoughts, I mean, not really whether I should have done this or not. Partly, honestly, because, I mean, small as we are, we have had a certain degree of success in terms of, customer love and brand recognition and just, financial independence. So second thoughts have not necessarily been about, oh, this is not going to work, I should have stayed in a job. Second thoughts mostly about decisions that you have made, and then you can, oh, maybe we should have done this, maybe we should have done that, and so on. But rarely, if ever, about, oh, I should not have done this. Because I have a certain degree of belief that if I want to get a job today, I will get a job today. So I'm like, mil hi jayega. It's all right.
So what are the lessons you think being at a corporate, coming to a startup and starting something of your own, was it the experience that you carried was very useful, or it was like something new that you explored here?
It was both. It was absolutely both. So I had about, I want to say 15, 16 years of experience before this. So the skill set obviously carries, right? I was a senior software engineer, etc. in other places. And I'm writing code here as well. So the skill set obviously kind of carries across, right? The sense of ownership carries across, because at least in my later roles, and especially in my stint at Cult, that was pretty nice for me. So there, all leaders, senior leaders, including engineering leaders, took business goals. So you were not saying, I will build this system or that system or whatever it is. You were saying, I will increase, I don't know, this metric by 2 percentage points, right? So even as an engineer, that was my goal. So that mindset that, okay, this is the outcome matters and not what code you write necessarily matters, that carries forward. But obviously, being in a startup and a bootstrapped startup, for that matter, right, brings a lot of unlearning, a lot of unlearning, because I would say 90% of the stuff about startups and how startup founders should behave and what they should do and so on, it all revolves around funded startups, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about bootstrap startups except lately.
Once again, a lot of time when the funds company raise it is a lot of PR. This company raised
absolutely.
XYZ millions of funds.
Exactly. That's the only news, right?
Yeah.
Like a few publications
Yeah.
have told us, ki, oh, when you raise funding, then we'll do a story. Otherwise,
Exactly.
like, what to do? But anyway, all that apart, like because there is a strong, resource constraint, right? Whether it is, like starts as money, then translates into how many people you can hire, and then translates in technology into what kind of systems you can build. It forces you to kind of rethink everything from first principles. And like I have burnt my hands, like in this, we got in, you can apply for AWS credits as a startup, right? You get your certificate, and then you can apply, and they'll give you some $2,000 or something like that, right? And as an engineer coming from all of these well-funded startups like Myntra and Cult and Uber and all of that, right? What did I know? I knew best practices, right? So the best practice was you should set up your databases in such and such way, right? I set it up. All the credits got over in 2 months. So then we're like, oh boss, this is not really going to work. We need to like do things differently.
Yes.
And from those initial lessons, we have kind of absorbed it into our DNA. Ki, you cannot just take a statement and kind of run with it. You have to figure out, can we even do this given our resources, given our situation, given how we operate? So that is something that has had in various dimensions, including operations, tech, etc., that we have had to unlearn and relearn and so on.
See, when you're building a business, we know the grind, we know the hustle, but always there's a tough thing of getting your first customers where you don't have zero brand recognition unless and until you're funded by some big company who is backing, you can market, PR it. So what are the challenges getting your first customers, even there's no word of mouth, and you have this tagline, the gold standard? How did it all happen?
So luckily we are in a space where, the demand is real, right? That is why we chose to do this business. We figured that, going from anywhere in Bangalore to the airport is a very difficult proposition if you want to go there comfortably, right? Like I think our LinkedIn bio still says this, like we cannot really do anything about the traffic. We can't do anything about the road or any of that. What we can do is send you a nice car and a nice driver and help you out in case you get in trouble, right? In a very humane, nice way, right? So our bet essentially was, this is a requirement that everybody has. And, between Vikas and I, we have enough of a network who we figured that we can, if we put the word out, a few people will take the ride. It's fine. Right? So we said, okay, let's do 6 cars. If we can fill 6 cars, then I think we're on to something. Then it became, 6 cars are getting filled, just because we didn't do much. But, our friends will keep booking, our family will keep booking, they will tell their friends.
Exactly.
And the moment we put this out on LinkedIn, the response was insane.
Yeah.
It simply goes to say how big the problem is.
True.
Right? People are willing to pay the money, but there just isn't an option.
Yeah.
There is nowhere they can go to get a nice, comfortable ride to the airport, which is pretty sad for a city like Bangalore. So we are proud to fill that gap, and which is why this whole thing worked out, sort of,
Makes sense. So as you mentioned, here at Shoffer, you had to take decisions. It's like a baby, it's like a child. And once again, there will be situations which require immediate reactive decisions. There may be chances where you don't have enough information as well. So how you make sure that you take decisions at a point which helps the company and doesn't affect it in a negative sense?
Best judgment, right? At all times, best judgment. If you don't have information but you're required to do something, you do what you think is, that's no different from any situation in your life, right? Whether you have info or no, you always decide, what is the best thing I can do right now, right? And if it's a small thing, it's a reversible thing, then you say, okay, let's do this for now. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. But even if it's a big thing, you just take a call. That really is at the heart of it.
What was unexpected, most unexpected? You didn't even imagine this kind of work out to do at a startup where you hadn't done it in your corporate life.
between Vikas and I, we used to do customer support for
Okay.
for a good long time,
Yeah.
till we hired our first customer support team members. We used to do CX for the longest time. Like Vikas would do nights and most days, but every time he was out or not available, I would chip in. So that was a thing. Never planned for that when going into this.
So coming to our third segment, we want to explore the startup life, the unfiltered startup life. So startup life often means facing rejection daily. You see some days highs and some days lows. So how do you keep your confidence alive when the doors keep closing?
I don't know. You look at the bright side. You go back and look at your Excel model and say, hey, dude, this is like, we need to make this happen. And that gives you some hope. You talk to your friends, you talk to your partners.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of pretty much that. Like for us, especially, like the kind of strong brand recognition that we see is very important personally. Like if you're feeling, oh, this is not working out, that is not working out, we are not able to do this thing, whatever it is, as fast or as early as we would like. I mean, I every once in a way just go to Twitter and type chauffeur and search and see how we have made a difference to people's lives, and that brings you back a little bit.
So today we see, the startup culture in India. A lot of founders are, in a glamour sense, they are seen as role models, as well as there are people who are not in a lot limelight. So once again, at our campus, at our university, also there's an incubation center which helps the startups with funding and networks connections. There are people who are working also on the startup idea. So can you tell me on the basis of your experience, what is like the hardest startup reality truth that no founder tells you?
I won't tell you then, right? No, it depends on what you are trying to do and what your situation is, and what kind of situation the world is in. For example, right? Like if you were trying to do a tourism startup and the war in Kashmir hits,
Yes.
so it's not just about you; it's about what you're trying to do.
And the timing also matters.
Timing matters. A lot of different things matter.
True.
Right? So the hard part, in some ways the hard part is, there, no matter how well it works, there will always be hard days. There are always going to be difficult days. There is just no getting around that, right? And you need to have some manner of support system in place to kind of carry you through till things do start to work out, right? And unfortunately, like, we only see success stories. We don't really see, like, every time a company fails, it's very like, the media is always very, oh, they did this wrong, they did that wrong, and all kinds of things. But it's a bet at best, at least in the early days, right? And you have to kind of play that bet right. It's not like you start up and it's either crazy success or crazy failure. It doesn't work like that. Right? And every crazy success has been 6-8 years in the making, but it doesn't seem like that to anybody. Or like, this guy did this and now it's 1,000 crore company. It didn't happen in a day. It took 6, 8, 10, 20 years, whatever, right? So that is something that you have to sign up for. I have spoken to a few people, especially in the mobility world, some former friends and colleagues. They will say, okay, so I want to do this, so I will do this. Okay, how will you make money? Okay, no, I'll start this, then I will raise funding, then this will happen, then this will happen, then this will happen. Okay, what if this doesn't happen?
True.
Okay, no, this will happen. No, if this happens. Like, no, it doesn't happen.
You expect the unexpected.
No, everything has to be made to happen.
Okay.
Like, nothing happens by default.
True.
Right? And if all of those questions are existential, right? I will hire 5 AI engineers. What if you can't hire 5 AI engineers? Exactly. What if they want a lot of salary? Do you have the money? Do you have the PMF? Like, all those things matter. None of this will happen by default. You have to make it happen. That takes time, that takes effort, that takes a lot of resilience personally.
So our Indian societal mindset is, we want 9 to 5 job, comfort chahiye zindagi mein, we don't want a lot of hustle and all. And personally, you are managing your personal life, your professional life. How is it? How do you manage, basically, for someone who wants to start in this space?
So just for the record, I used to, like, there's nothing wrong with 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like, you do 9 to 5, maybe you have kids, and maybe you have a lot of other hobbies. So 9 to 5 is perfectly fine. Not everybody has to be a billionaire, investor, startup founder, this that. It's a life that you have to live, and it's okay. So what? 9 to 5, big deal. You should not, your expectations from life should match. If you don't care really about your job, you're just doing your job because it's a job and it gives you money to put food on the table, a vacation once a year, it's perfectly fine. But if this person compares then with, Nitin Kamath saying, oh, this guy dude my age, and see, he has crores. You chose that. So no problem, do your 9 to 5, chill in life, perfectly okay, but have matching expectations. That is really the problem where all of this sort of goes wrong. And for us, like for people who are doing, a lot of the grind and hustle and this and that, you have to make time for your family. Like, at least it has to be a conscious choice. Like, all of these things have to be conscious choices. Like I said, nothing will happen by default. If you spend 7 days working, then your wife is going to complain, and you are going to have to deal with that.
Yes.
And you should.
So you mentioned startups are high pressure environment, and what's one thing about leadership you only understood after becoming a founder?
So the thing that changes as a founder, or as probably as a very senior leader in some companies, is that people take your words very literally. Right? If I say this should happen, in my head I'm probably thinking, oh, this should happen, but none of the other things should change, and this should happen, that should happen, whatever you do, but see if you can make this happen. Like, a lot of the people are hearing this and saying, the CTO of the company has told me this, I must do this at the risk of everything else. Right? So how your words will be perceived works very differently for founders in their companies, especially probably in early stages a lot. So that was something interesting and jarring. Like, a bunch of times, like, I didn't say all that, but you said that. Okay, no, that was not what I meant. So I'm trying to be increasingly explicit about. So I was coming here today, so there was traffic, etc. So I told the guy to go faster, but our drivers get penalized if they go too fast.
Yes.
So I called the ops team saying, if possible, allow this guy to drive at 90-95 speed. Otherwise, please let me know, whatever. Because if I say just allow him, they will say, okay, sir, allowed.
Okay.
But sir, there was a traffic camera there. Like, okay, then tell me, right? Yes. So which is why it's a different way of saying the same thing.
So there will be tough times building a startup. Not necessarily you start and you go to the highest. There will be downfalls. So once again, there's a moment where you will start doubting yourself. We mentioned second doubt. So once again, what helps a person who sees downfall or failure in his initial stages to bounce back?
Again, probably different for different people. This will vary based on the kind of problem you are facing, as well as the kind of person that you are, right? Everybody's coping mechanisms are different, right? So I think having friends and family, etc., that you can talk to, or maybe not talk to, and they will not talk to you about it, and they will always be like, you do what you want to do. You're doing fine. That sort of thing works, right? So everybody has their own method. You can look at, do you believe in that vision? Does it seem like it is working out? Does this thing feel temporary? Are you able to sort of dissociate yourself from the current problem and say, okay, we came this far, and now maybe this is a bit of a difficult phase. Let's push through. Let's push through, right? At the same time, it behooves a founder to kind of have a bit of a objective reality check, saying this is not a problem. This means that thing is not working. Right? Because for a lot of startups, this is a reality that it will not work out. And the thing is not about bouncing back with the company, but bouncing back outside of it in your life in general. So it depends. Friends always help. Friends always help. Family always helps.
So coming to my next question, networking. Personally, how did I and Kisle sir network? Through LinkedIn. I was looking for guests for the podcast, and I checked out his profile. I sent a request, and he was so generous enough. He accepted my request. So even the dean and director and associate dean of a campus, during seminars, stress a lot on this learning outside the four walls of your classroom, and that means networking. I personally take part in a lot of fest events and wherever networking sessions. Once again, personally, it has leveraged a lot to me as well. So, can you tell, in a journey in building a startup, how much does networking matter a lot?
Networking matters a lot. Okay, but like, see, the problem with networking, the word is that it has been abused so much. It's become so shallow.
Sure.
Right? That, okay, like, people keep attending every meetup. That's not networking, right? You need to have a certain curiosity, and then you need to chase those things, right? It doesn't work. I imagine it rarely works the other way around, that you will keep attending meetups and suddenly you will have startup wisdom, or you will have a new idea. It's unlikely to work that way. You can go and meet a lot of different people, but you need to have like a starting point for yourself, saying, what am I kind of looking for here, right? With that, networking is very powerful. For us, as chauffeur, as a new founder, networking has been extremely powerful, uh, not just for getting the word out there about us, because we are in a very public business. So, like, I don't have to go to a meetup and say chauffeur is this, chauffeur is
Yeah.
that. Like, car is running on the road, so, and with big bold chauffeur written on it, so people do get to see it, right?
True.
So, we go to meetups to meet people, and then it turns into a working relationship, and a lot of people have spent a lot of time with us just helping us out, right? So it's not just going to events and networking. It's just like you did, like, somebody will
Yes.
reach out and say, yeah, I'm trying to I was talking to somebody recently. They're trying to manufacture an EV in India. Like, that's
Oh.
interesting. So, they reached out, we had a call, but they had a agenda, like,
Yeah.
what this guy is talking about, not like, so how did you start, what
Yeah.
are you, this, that, right? So it it's very effective if you have a certain thing in mind, right? Otherwise, it is as helpful as meeting friends.
True.
Then it's a very different story.
So once again, since we all are students and it's a student-centric podcast as well, so a lot of times, especially being in third year, even we are confused. What is the road ahead? Personally, being in commerce, this thought that comes is next MBA, either IIM or study abroad thing. And the last episode where we had guests, they were professionals, and they were telling me that Neil, he was a CA. He was telling me, Neil, CA, after a point of time, it's all about your smartness and networks to go high above the round. Okay, you'll have the technical background, you'll have the knowledge, but why do a lot of CAs still are doing tax filing in their firms, and why still see a couple of CAs are doing well in their life? It's all about your smartness. It's all about networks. It's all about where you can reach after a point of time. So even you have a very good technical background. You have BTech engineering, but you are doing a startup and managing finances, different sorts of roles. So how much do you think education leverages, and how much does your on practical learning matters a lot in these experiences?
See, both things matter. Like, I am not of the school key, I don't do BTech, good college doesn't matter, all of that. Right? At the very least, what a good college will do is give you a smart peer group.
Okay.
Okay. So it's not because, tier 2 colleges may people are not smart. This is not that, right? Think of it from a, like, I'm working at Myntra, my
Yeah.
previous gig, right? We are responsive. I want to hire 2 engineers in my team, right? I put up, my HR puts a post out or whatever on LinkedIn, right? I get 37,000 resumes, right? Ideally, I would have an in-depth conversation with all of them, but that is just physically not feasible. What is my filter? Like, what do you want me to do? I am going to put a filter somewhere, right? When the resource pool is scarce but the demand is huge, there are going to be some filters, and they are going to be somewhat arbitrary, right? Why is 90% a cutoff, right? The top students who got the highest marks in my class, in BTech, were not the best programmers. They're not even doing programming now. All of them are MBAs, and they're doing whatever it is that they're doing, right? I was maybe class number 19th.
Okay.
But I can easily say that I was a good programmer. I used to love writing code, right? But somebody will put a mark saying only top 10 people can come.
Yeah.
And that is just not avoidable. So if you manage getting into a good college, at least, you get that little bit of probability jump. Ki, acha, the line will not cut me off.
Yeah.
Right. And hopefully you'll get a smart group of peers, and that who you will grow together with. Right. But that is just one part, and usually a very small part of your life. Right. The rest of all your life you are learning on the job. Right. Because one way or the other, a lot of our curriculums in colleges, etc., don't teach you what you're going to do actually in real life. Right. I don't know how it is with CA curriculums and so on, but engineering curriculum specifically teach you the basics, but rarely how to apply those basics. Right. So you kind of reverse engineer. You'll go to a job and they'll say build the system, and then you're trying to build the system, and then in that process you'll refer back to the basics.
Yeah.
But nobody taught you how to write that piece of code to begin with. Right. So both things are absolutely critical, and especially with such a wave of AI and this and that, right? Both things are doing both things continuously is critical. Like, you cannot be not learning on the job anymore for anybody, including engineers.
Just a quick question in between. This question was not in the script. Is AI, do you think, overhyped these days? Everywhere I see AI, everything AI.
It is overhyped. Yeah. Absolutely, it is overhyped. But that does not mean that it is not powerful.
True.
Both things are true, right? So a non-technical person today can build a time pass app, which was not possible earlier. Exactly. Right? So the power that thing gives is real. Okay. That does not mean it will remove all jobs, it will do everything, you won't even have to lift a finger, everybody's jobs will go away. Most of those things are not true in the way they are portrayed today. They are true though to some extent, right? The teams, because you can write code faster, for example, engineering teams will get smaller, which will lead to a certain degree of job loss. Product managers or other business leaders will be required to and will be able to do their analytics, for example, on their own, take a certain degree of strategic decisions on their own without having to hire an analyst, right? So the lay of the land is certainly going to change. It is not going to change the way people are talking about, because it is in their best interest to talk about it like that.
So to all our viewers, I've mentioned in the starting there's a surprise segment, and here we are coming with a rapid fire round.
All right.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions lined up, and I'll be shooting at you, and I want quick answers. So,
okay.
So if you had 1 minute to pitch Chauffeur to Elon Musk, what would you say?
Chauffeur is the best company that you can be running your Teslas in. It is the only company which matches your brand power. You should be investing in Chauffeur.
Wonderful. If you had 10 crore in your bank account today, what's the first non-business thing you would buy?
A holiday.
Biggest jugaad hack you have pulled off as a founder?
Biggest jugaad hack?
Yes.
I don't know. Too many manual things. Like, we just do a lot of stuff by hand instead of doing it properly.
So if you were a VC for one day, which type of startup idea would you reject immediately?
Would I reject immediately?
Yes.
If a founder has no plan of making money.
Okay. One app you secretly hate but can't stop using?
Instagram.
One book that changed the way you think?
The Goal.
Okay. One Indian entrepreneur you truly admire?
There really isn't one.
Okay. So the final question, and the context is the startups, Gurgaon or Bangalore?
Bangalore.
Easily. Wonderful. So coming to our last segment, that is concluding and closing remark. So if you are 20 years old today, just starting college or thinking about your future, what's one thing you would have definitely done differently?
I would have learned how to sell better.
Okay.
Right? Like, I was a very good programmer. I was good at technical stuff, but I didn't quite spend time learning how to pitch things, how to sell things, how to convince others, and so on. I would try and get better at that for sure.
So what's one small habit or interest that helped you grow in your career? Something students can learn from doing it starting from today?
Try and understand how things work, right? Like, and this comes, of course, from a bit of a technology bias. Like, if you say, okay, I will use this and this will happen, or there is this app which does this, try to understand how this works. If you're using something small in your system, try and understand how it does the job, because then you have context above and below that thing. Okay, this is how it does it, and this is what I use it for, and this is where this thing's place in the world is. And it applies to everything. Like you can replace this with humans. Like, why is this human behaving this way? Because he's a manager who is required to manage people this way, but his manager is like this.
Sure.
So, understand why things happen in a certain way.
So someone as a student who wants to start his career, personally, if I have to give a context, I had done my internship recently at a fintech company called Simple, which is Bangalore based. Okay. So even my father works in corporate, and from childhood I've seen how corporate also works. So someone who wants to start his career, should he start from a high pressure startup environment and grow up the hierarchy, or start from a big four or from a big MNC and then switch to startup?
It doesn't matter. What matters is what you're looking for.
Okay.
If you're looking for, like I was saying earlier, 9 to 5 is fine. Like, what is the problem with 9 to 5? It puts food on the table, gives you money for your hobbies, lets you live a happy life. There is nothing wrong with it, right? So if you want to pursue all other things in life, and job and salary is just a way of achieving them, sure, go for the chill job, like whatever, right? But if you are focused and passionate about something, then probably startups are a good way to pursue that. Keep in mind though that working in a startup guarantees nothing, honestly. Typically you'll be underpaid. Typically the startup will fail, with all respect to everybody who's working in this sector. Over a longish period, most startups don't work out, or they stagnate, if not fail outright, right? So working in a startup is not to say ki I will make money. It will guarantee you a lot of learning. It will guarantee you a lot of exposure by and large, but it doesn't imply sort of, I don't know, material success, if you want to call it that.
And the last question for the day, just like Nikhil Kamath asks, if you're today a 20-year-old Indian who wants to start a startup, how should he go with the things?
How should you go about doing things? I think a lot of people are doing it this way, like looking at the current wave of AI technologies and all of this stuff. I would pick a boring sector and try to make a company in it, which is entirely tech powered, right? Not selling software to this guy, right? And this is happening in accounting a lot. I know a lot of my friends who are doing this. So historically, and even now, like, you are an accountant, you have a client, let's say Chauffeur. Chauffeur will give you all their accounts, make my books, do my P&L, give my balance sheet and all of that. And you will use a software like Tally or Zoho or like whatever the other options are out there. And you will do this job for them. Typically, software companies would make software and sell it to this guy, to the accountant guy, right? Saying, no, my software is better than Tally, right? The new pattern of doing this, and I think it makes a lot of sense, is to say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to hire 5 accountants and I am going to do this directly, which means that you are no longer a tech company, and you should not think of yourself as tech company. Like for Chauffeur, for example, right? We don't say we are a tech company. We are a taxi company. So step 1, embrace the industry that you want to work in. I want to do accounting. Yes, we are an accounting company. But under the hood, we use technology to the teeth.
Yeah.
Right? And that is what allows us to charge a premium, do a good job, automate it, scale it very, very easily. So the older ways of saying, for engineers at least, like I'll write software, sell it to this guy, no. Like the best bet today, in my opinion, is to become a domain expert and then sell that domain expertise powered by technology.
I think it's just been a great conversation that we had. A lot of the doubts that I had, a lot of the myths that I had heard about, got clarified, and I believe the same even the viewers feel as well. And Mr. Kisle, it's just been an honor, and it was just a pleasure to
Thank you.
Have you down here in our campus. I know he stays in HSR layout and coming all the way to the other part of Bangalore to Nagasandra. I know it takes a lot. So once again, on behalf of Christ University Yeshwanthpur campus, I would like to thank Mr. Kisle Verma for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
As well as the Media Lab for giving us all the necessary facilities, the director, associate director, dean, associate dean, the whole FLC team, as well as the faculty coordinator of our club, Mr. Narasimha Murthy sir, for helping us out with all the setup and all the permissions and stuff. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments below the kind of guest and what are you looking forward, and any feedback you can give us. Thank you. And this is Neil Fernandez signing out. Have a wonderful day. Cheers.